You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Thank you for joining me here today on this Training Thursday show, where I'm going to be taking you through the fitness test, also called the survival test, that I believe every single person should be able to pass. I really believe this. And I've been giving it a lot more thought over the last couple months as I've started to get more into my own training. And I've started to do more podcasts and interviews and conversations with great athletes and with also a lot of health experts in this field, and fitness experts, I should say. And they asked me, what was it that you did when you were working with Olympians and professional athletes? And even to this day, like, how is it that you're fine-tuning these plans when they're already working, of course, with the great coaches? And I usually say it's simply one more outside perspective. That's it. Like, I'm not looking to say that I'm going to revolutionize their training plan. Like, you're going to have a great coach for that. What I'm looking for is what I typically do, and I look for what it is to give you an extra edge, what it is to be able to optimize your exercise, your nutrition, your health, whatever it is, that to take you to that next level. Because when we're looking at the highest level, what we're really talking about is a degree. It's a degree of excellence that separates a professional athlete or an Olympic athlete in their sport. So the difference between like bronze and silver and gold in the Olympics is fractions of 1%. Like, it's what's that little bit that person does better than their competitor. So what I'm always looking for is not necessarily to make them a more gifted athlete or anything like that. No, it's some small movement. It's some imbalance, some compensation that's taking place, whether it's in their biomechanics or whether it's actually in their nutrition, their preparation, their sleep, their hormones, their whatever it might be. And usually it's all of those because we look at everything. I want to show you how this applies to you in just a moment. But, what I typically find is just a little bit of imbalance maybe from their right side to their left side. That's very, very common. So if people are dominant on one side of their body usually, meaning a lot of people didn't know this, but about 60% to 80% of the weight is actually transferred onto one side of the body when you're just standing upright. You don't notice it, but your right leg or your left side is taking more of the weight. A lot of times the person's standing there locked out, and I can kind of just assess that as I'm talking with a person. And then I watch them do an overhead squat, and I watch them to do certain lunges and different movements, and I can start to see a little bit of wavering, small, but enough. So it's enough to go on of the knee or the shoulder, or the elbow starts to come away from the body during a certain movement. So anyway, what I'm looking for are these small things. And I was able to do that. And again, I still do that to a degree today, and just not as much as I used to because my world has changed. But it was interesting because when I started to do that, one referral led to another referral, which is essentially how a lot of times working with athletes and whether it's celebrities or whether it's my next field, which I got into, which was working with tactical level or FBI level agents. And what I was doing was helping the recruits pass their test. It's called a physical, I'm trying to think back to what it's actually called, but it's the physical fitness test. Yeah, that's not very difficult to remember. Physical fitness test protocol. And so what I was given was it was something like 20 pages, and it was an outline of the test that they needed to pass, all the scores that they were going to be given, and they wanted me to not only help them pass, okay, because you need to pass and you need to get a good score. The typical score is, well, the minimum is 12 points, which I'm going to share with you in a minute what that consists of. And if you want to be one of the tactical applicants, so the tactical recruitment, a part of that program, it needs to be at 20 points. That's obviously much, much higher. So they would give me the test. Like, that was basically it. And they didn't want to just pass it. They wanted to score very highly on it so that if they scored high in their aptitude tests, like their intelligence-based tests or however you want to call that, and their physical tests, that would actually put them much higher up in the rankings. And of course, everyone wants to be higher up in the rankings because to be chosen for an FBI agent is also very, very competitive as well. So they said, here's the test. Help me pass this. What do I need to do? And also, how can I score at an elite level? Because, maybe I already am physically fit. But believe it or not, a lot of people go into the FBI agency aren't necessarily physically fit. They might be chemists. They might be doctors. They might not be in like a health-based regime. That's not necessarily it. Like they're scientists. They're brilliant minds. And that doesn't always necessarily mean people are going to exercise. Because remember, in the United States alone, only about 13% of the population actually does anything exercise-related. And I think that's actually being generous. I would not say that 13 out of 100 people in the United States actually go to a gym, but they apparently are at least physically active, which these statistics are sometimes very misleading. They really are. Because keep in mind, you might say 13% of the people have had a gym membership or have a gym membership. But again, I worked in that world for many, many years. And what you're looking at is out of the 13% of the people, let's say you have a gym membership, you're lucky, you're like really doing well if 20% of those people actually come into the gym. And that's the truth, because I was at a very high level gym and health club, which was really I was very fortunate to get in there as one of the little young guys who got in when they were 22 years old. But we had a very high level. We had 30% of the people using membership. Now, that was one of the highest in the industry. So I can tell you that most are below 10%. So anyway, I digress. I'm just saying most people aren't exercising. That same goes with FBI. So it's taking a lot of people who are untrained. And I'm going to get to this in a moment, why this actually matters. And so what I do is essentially, I try to reverse engineer things. And of course, I'm not the first person to ever come up with this. But what I do is I need to have all of the data of how the test works, how they pair certain exercises that a person has to pass. And it's only 5 exercises. So I need to know why these 5, what they're looking for. Okay, understand that. I need to get the data. And then I need to actually complete the test myself. So I put myself through it. I'm like, okay, I understand the pace. I understand the tempo that they have to go at. It's very important for a practitioner in general, whether it's health or psychology, therapy-based, that you go get it yourself. Like if you're a massage therapist and you're not getting a massage, you're a leg down. You really are. I don't think that's actually proper English. But anyway, you don't understand it. Like you need to be experiencing it for yourself. And that's why I myself, I consider myself to be integrative. And that doesn't mean anything great. It just means integrative. It means that I'm interested. So I'm always going and checking out cryotherapy and float tank and acupuncture and different types of massage and manual lymph drainage and Reiki and a lot of times I'm getting certified in them. It's like, I'll never use them. I'm a certified yoga instructor. I'm certified in Reiki. I've actually overseas, this is in the US, but I've done over 600 hours of actual massage. I'll talk about that. But it's from a lymphatic, it's from an Abhyanga. As you study Ayurvedic medicine, all doctors of Ayurvedic medicine actually get massage-based certified. I've never once, I don't do massage. But these are all things that I'm interested in, and I want to be able to have a good understanding so that I can relay it to others. So essentially what I'm saying is, as a practitioner, you need to do it. And so what I did was I went through this test. And then what I wanted people to do was then, okay, they're not trained yet. Go through the test for me. Let me look at the data. Where are you strongest and where are you weakest? Because I do things very differently. And that's why, even if you're not into fitness, now I'm just hoping that some of this context comes through. Because I know not everyone wants to obviously pass this test, although that I think that you should. I really believe that. And I'm going to share that with you. Is that what I do is this. When I'm working with athletes, when I'm working with a lot of people who are trying to get to a goal, this goes for anything. This goes for life in general. Literally, when I'm doing what I call my lifestyle medicine-based concierge practice, I don't do a lot of it. It's reserved for just a few people. But what I do is I try to help them in all facets of their life. And those facets can include relationships and their work-life balance and their health and their career, all of those things. And I don't pretend or profess to be a guru in many of those areas, right? But what I understand is how the human psyche works. And I understand that in life, we're all given certain attributes. And we're all not the best at certain things, right? And we can never be. Because there isn't anybody that's the best at anything. Typically, when you're the best at something, you have to be then really weak in certain areas as well. So for example, the best shot putters in the Olympics are typically endomorphs, and they have some mesomorph in there as well. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means that they're going to be able to produce a lot of force very quickly, all right? And that's important. They're going to be very strong and their joints are going to hold up over throwing that shot thousands of times, right? And then when we look at, let's just say like an Olympic sprinter, okay, they're not going to be the endomorph. That's more built for endurance and like power. What we want the mesomorph to be is for that short, fast twitch burst of speed and power. It's a beautiful mix. And when you look at the sprinters, their legs look like, I mean, you can't even imagine it, right? Like, it's like, that's a powerhouse. Like, their glutes are unimaginably attainable to most people. They're enormous. And that's because the glutes are the largest muscle in the body, able to produce a lot of power and speed and acceleration that comes all the way up from that Achilles tendon right up through those glutes. And your arms are pumping, like, so that's perfectly built. And then I'm looking at the ectomorph and the Vata body type. And then what are they best for? For anything highly neurological. But again, like looking at the specifics of that body type. So anyway, what I'm saying is like we're born from a genotype that I'm going to be teaching more just next week in Ayurvedic-based medicine and your dosha and your body type and how that balances. So in a roundabout kind of way, what I'm trying to say is this, is I look at a person, I say, here are your natural strengths. Well, here's what I want to do for you that might be a little different than other coaches. I'm not as concerned with your weaknesses. What I want to do is I want to understand your moderate base strengths, what I can make better at a baseline level for what you're pretty good at. And then I want to know what your highest level of strength is, and I want to make you great at that. Because it's easiest for me to make you great at what you're already pretty good at. Like, that's much easier. And you're going to enjoy it a lot more too, because you're already pretty good at it. And then I'm going to take your weaknesses, which you're going to see in a moment on this test, because you at least have to be proficient. So we're going to take your weaknesses and just make them proficient, because they're your weaknesses. And sure, if you just weren't taught about it, well, I'll teach you about it. But if it's still a weakness, it's a weakness. It's like trying to get a ectomorph to be great at endurance. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, sure, they can do it at a low level, not at an Olympic level. It's not going to happen. The muscle fiber type isn't there. The endurance isn't there. Their joints are not going to hold up to the repetitions. And you can disagree with me, and you can always find a small fraction that passed it. And I agree with you. Like, there's always that. And I'm not disagreeing with it, all right? Because there's always aberrations. Like, I look at certain athletes, you know, like I look at Dustin Pedroia on the Boston Red Sox when he was playing. He was one of the captains, he was one of the greats and all of those things. And his career could have been longer, and I believe it could have been longer if his body type was a little bit bigger. But like, I love Dustin Pedroia because he made happen what should not have happened. He was a smaller guy. He was hitting home runs, which again should not happen either. And he was doing it at the highest level possible on the Boston Red Sox. So anyway, like, there's always their aberrations. So don't count yourself out ever. But what I'm saying is I can look at someone and I can say, here's what I'm going to make you even better at. And so what I do is I bring up the weaknesses just to a proficient level. And I make and again, I figure out what the imbalances are, and then I rebalance that, of course. But I'm taking those moderate strengths and I'm taking the highest strengths and I'm bringing those to the highest level. And that's why, like, I'm just a tiny fraction of why some of the people that I've worked with might have been successful, and they've gone on to become world champions and professional athletes. And everyone that I've worked with has passed that FBI test and made it to that highest level. And again, I'm only one of their coaches. I'm only one tiny part of that. But I'd like to say it's that I look at it from an outside perspective. And what I try to do is simply say that by human nature, I can make you the best person you're really meant to be. And that's a really nice anecdote to look at life, is like, play your strengths, like be good at your strengths, like really work towards that. If you are the endomorphic body type, you can actually do more steady state cardio. And if you're the mesomorph, resistance-based weight training, like high-intensity weight training, is going to be great for you. And if you're more of the ectomorph or that Vata body type, more of the yoga, more of the body weight, more of the like every other day or just like 3 days a week of training. But you can do it all, but it has to like work right for your body type. And hopefully that makes sense. So now here's how it plays into this fitness-based test that I really believe everyone should pass. It's what I consider, and why I'm calling it a survival-based test, is I just think that as humans, we need to be physically fit. Like, we need to be physically fit for health. We need to be physically fit because it produces endorphins, which makes us happy. But we also need our structure, our vessel, to be able to carry us through life. And like, God forbid anything ever happen, you need to be physically fit. Your body needs to be strong. I really believe in this. Like, I just feel like you need to be able to run away from a threat, or you need to be strong enough to fend off some type of threat, or to be able to get yourself out of a physically challenging environment. I just think that these things are very, very important. I actually want to talk about them more in the future, and I will. I want this to be kind of like our introductory episode, and I want you to get started on the thought process that I'm coming, because I'm always evolving. And the thought process of really where I'm really coming at is I want to develop a more real world physical aptitude test that I believe every person should be able to pass. And I think I want to create a physical fitness regimen that I want to be able to ramp you up to be able to achieve that. And so what I want to go through right now is to give you the actual FBI test. And I want to show you how I believe every person should be able to pass that, and why the FBI believes that this is like their minimum. And the better you are at it, well, the more you're able to survive in threatening-based situations. And think about that for your own life. Like, you want to be able to pass that. You want to be physically fit enough to be able to get yourself out of any situation. And this doesn't really have to do just with the body. Like, everyone, a lot of times, and, maybe rightly so, is obsessed with kind of like looking physically fit. And I don't think that's a bad thing to shoot for either. I think we can take it too far, of course, in our society. But what we want is a body that's capable. So whether you're at your ideal body weight or not, I want you to be physically capable. And one of the nice things is to become physically capable. A lot of times that gets much easier when you lose the 100 pounds or the 50 pounds or the 20 pounds, whatever it is that you need to lose, because you have less body weight to be able to move through space. And so that obviously makes it easier typically for you, as long as you're not muscle wasting a lot, not losing a lot of that muscle. All right. Without further ado, let's get into what that fitness test is. All right. So this is really easy. You'll be able to play it back. You'll be able to write it down. Really, really simple though. But here's the deal. So there's 5 different exercises that you need to complete, and they are timed. And I'm going to try to give you all of those things right now, especially if I can find this for you. So here's how the test is graded. Our passing score is a minimum of 12 points. If you want to be part of like the tactical-based recruitment, which is the higher level, I'm assuming, I'm not an FBI expert, but I'm assuming this is more field-based tactical. You're out there in the field. You need a 20, all right? You need a 20 points, and I'm going to give you the point-based system. All right, so here's the thing. There's 5 different exercises. I'm going to go through them one by one, and I'm going to give you each one specifically how to do that right now. All right, so the very first one is the sit-up test. All right. One of the people that I was working with, this was one of the most difficult ones for them to do, because one of these people, I'm just thinking of her in general. She was a female and she was physically fit, but had a really tough time doing pull-ups. So what did I say? Pull-ups are your weakness. But here's the thing. I need you to do at least 1 to 2 pull-ups on your own, full hang, all the way to the bottom, all the way to the top. That's not an easy thing to do. And it is typically harder for women. Now, I'm not saying women can't do it, because I train women to be able to do that, and they should be able to do it. But when we're looking from a biological standpoint, women can build up a good amount of muscle in their lower body. They typically, not always, they typically do not build up as much upper body muscle as men. Now, the test is graded between men and women. There is a difference. But what I say is, you are phenomenal in certain areas. I want you to get 10 points on this particular test. Usually that's the max amount of points that you can get in one test. Remember, you only need a point. You only need 12, okay? So even if I get her just a minimum in the others as 1, and I have her ace 1, she's ace the test. So think about that. Like, think about that in life in general. Like, what can you be so great at that the other things can just be okay? That's what I look at. Like, it's kind of like your niche. Like, what if you're a health practitioner and you're so great at balancing female hormones, or you're so great at strengthening the digestive system, or you're so great at adrenal-based issues? Like, well, good. You can just be proficient in the other things, that people come to you because of the female hormones, the gut-based issues, the maybe candida, maybe even specialize even more. So anyway, just think about that. It is context for overall life. So to pass this test, and I believe it's in 60 seconds, that's the time. It's 1 minute, that's correct. So in 1 minute, to get 1 point, you need to do 35 sit-ups for a woman. And again, this is different. This is not crunches. It's back to the floor, chest up to your knees. Knees are bent at a 90-degree angle. And to get 1 point for a male, it's 38. Okay? To get 10 points, it's 57 for women and 58 for men. Okay. When I was working with this person, we were so close. We were getting like between 8 and 10 points every single time. To do that many sit-ups in a minute, 1 a second, you have to go all the way up and all the way down in that time without actually hurting your neck and spine. It's pretty impressive. And I know, because I kept in touch with her, I know for sure that she hit 56 on that, giving her 9 points. So pretty impressive right there. All right, the 300 meters. So again, 1 point, meaning you have to get 1 point, you can't get 0, is you need to hit 35 points for women, 38 men, for sit-ups, I should say. All right, the 300 meters sprint. This is how fast you can sprint 3/4 of a track. So basically, when you're on a track, this is done on a track, it's 1/4 of a mile, all right? 1/4 of a mile is above 400 meters. That's about 3/4 of that, of course, is 300 meters, okay? So am I doing my math correct? Yes, 3/4 of 400 is 300. All right, so when we're looking at that, to do that, 1 point is 65 seconds for women, and it's 52 seconds for men. All right, so to get 10 points, and of course, everything falls in between by 1 point, 2 point, 3 points, is 49 seconds or below, and 40 seconds or below for men. That's pretty fast. It really is. So what we did was we worked on that. We made sure that we got, I always looked at, I wanted us to hit the 20. I wanted to hit tactical, even though many people that I was working with, they weren't going into tactical. They were more of the scientist and they were more of the office based. And so, but again, I wanted them to ace it so that there was no question this person's mentally and physically the best of the best. So that was pretty interesting. But the great thing would be, I want you to score yourself. All you have to do is get on a treadmill and run for 300 meters. How do you do? Get it up to speed. Do a warm up, of course, but then get it up to speed. All right. And they allow you to warm up for this test. All right. Next up was push-ups. Now, this is a great one. I really love this test. 1 point for women is 14 to 18. Okay. This means arms fully extended. And this means that feet no further than 3 inches apart. And then basically arms at a right angle all the way to the ground. This is very important because the form has to be there. They will disqualify you. The rep will not count, just like in the Guinness Book of World Records, if you don't do the proper form. So for men, it's 30 is the minimum. Women, 14 is the minimum. And to get 10 points in this, women would have to do over 45. No easy feat, by the way. And men, 71 or over. Again, no easy feat. So what we did was we tried to get her the max we could do. And I know that we could get in the mid-30s. So I know we're going to get 7 points on that. So really, I already knew that we were going to pass the test because I know I could ramp up her sit-ups. Most people can ramp up sit-ups, honestly. If you give yourself 8 weeks, I know for a fact most people can get more than 45 or better because I've done this with multiple people. And push-ups, I know that I can get most people to at least 3 to 4 points in this category, which would be right around 25 for women and about 50 for men. I know that I can get most people to that within 6 to 12 weeks maximum. All right, so after that, the 1.5 mile run. So why this is such a great test, I love this test. It's a mix of endurance, 1.5 mile run, and then just anaerobic, like all out 300 meter sprint. You have to get yourself, well, basically you have to run after someone and grab them or run out of a dangerous situation. And then we need a little bit of endurance. This is why I call it a survival test. Sometimes you need to sprint, but a lot of those people who are just sprinting, they can't run for 1.5 miles straight. You need to be able to run for a mile. I really believe that. I just think that should be part of your training. I'm going to get to this at the end. I'm going to wrap this up. Okay. Because here's the thing, I want you to implement this, and I want this to evolve, and I'm excited about this. So to get 1 point, you need to do this for women in 14 minutes or better, 13:59 or better. For men, you need to do this in 12 minutes and 24 seconds. So when you look at that, what are you looking at? About my math's not going to be great with the podcast right now, 7.5 minute or so mile. That's pretty fast. That's pretty good, and you need to be able to do that for 1.5 miles straight. And then to run it to get 10 points, 10.5 or below for women, basically 9 minutes or below for men. That's very fast, right? Because what would a mile be? It'd be somewhere around a 6-minute mile. That's incredible, right? So that's really, really great. So when I'm looking at that, okay, what do I need to do? I need to make them proficient in this. If they've never run before, I'm not going to get them to a 9 minute. I'm just not. I know that. I don't have time. I don't have training. They might not be genetically great in that area, whatever it is. So what I need to do is get them proficient. I'm okay if we get a couple points in this area, but I'm going to make that proficient. And then the pull-ups. One person that came to me specifically, they couldn't do a pull-up. I'm thinking of one person right now. It was a woman. She failed her test. She did great in the other areas. Proficient. She was proficient. But you have to get at least one pull-up for women. And it has to be a full hang and all the way down, all the way up. I can't go over how to do this right now, but anyone can do this. They can do this with assistance. They can do this with bands to be able to assist them until they get to a pull-up on their own. So minimum 1 pull-up for women. It's not that easy. I'm telling you, full hang all the way to the bottom, no swinging, and all the way up, really important to be able to do. I just believe that you should be able to pull yourself up onto something if you're ever needed. Like, this is a survival-based test. Pull yourself up out of danger, out of whatever it might be. And then for men, 2 to 3 was the minimum. If you got 10 points for women, you did 10 pull-ups or more. And for men, 20 or more. Not easy, right? So when we look at that, though, like, what would it look like to hit a 10 in all of these categories? Well, like, you would be an amazing athlete if you were that well-rounded. Because really what we're developing is a very well-rounded athlete. Now, I'm not saying you need to hit 10 in every area, but would you pass the test? Like, would you get 12 points? And if you're really great, like if you consider yourself an athlete right now, would you get 20 points or more? And what I'm going to do right now, you know what? I just thought of this. I'm going to find, and I don't know if the FBI wants me doing this, but I don't think it's illegal to do. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to link up their physical assessment test. So what I want you to do is right now go to StephenCabral.com/895. StephenCabral.com/895. I am going to find that test and I'm going to link it up for you, the full PDF, everything you would need. And I want you to see where your weak areas are. Try this test at the gym, where your strong areas are, and if you would pass the test or not. I would love you to let me know. Just go on Instagram, find this specific post on, what are we going to call this? We're titled something like, could you pass this fitness survival test? Let me know if you could or not, what you estimate your score to be, or if you take the test, what it is. If you're part of our free Facebook group, our support group, go to cabralsupportgroup.com. Let me know if you would have passed it or not. I would love to hear your feedback. Because what I'm going to do is this, is I'm going to create my own, what I call a physical fitness test. Not for the FBI, but what I would love people to be able to do. And it's going to be a variation of this. Instead of 1.5 miles, I'm going to do a mile because I think running a mile is going to be great. Like, that should be good. The 300-meter sprint, I love. I might do a 200-meter, right? I'm going to do the push-ups. I might or might not do the sit-ups. I'm going to do something to do with the core, like involve that, but I don't want people to be hurting their spines. And I'm definitely going to keep in the pull-ups as well. Can you do 1? Can you do 2 or 3? Like, what is it? But I just want you to know, I always like to get the cat out of the bag a little bit. I'm going to be adding some squats. Using your body weight, meaning like, if you weigh 150 pounds, you should be able to squat your body weight for X. So you should be able to do a percentage of your body weight for 10 reps. And then same thing for the Romanian deadlift. Like, these are important lifts to be able to do as well. I think they're very, very important. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to refine that. So I'll be back in, let's say, a couple training Thursdays from now, coming up with my own physical readiness test, like my own survival-based test. But what I want to do, and the FBI has obviously spent a lot of time and a lot of money refining this test and making sure that people are ready for action, are ready to be able to pass a survival-based standpoint. And I'm telling you right now, give this a shot. See how in shape or out of shape you are based on their assessment. Again, this isn't your assessment. It's not based on physique or anything like that. But could you pass this test? And I look at it as this. Like, I could say, like, right off the bat, like, okay, well, what are my strongest areas going to be? They're going to be my pull-up. They're going to be not necessarily my sit-up. I don't practice those. They're going to be my push-ups for sure. They're going to be my 300-meter sprint, but not the 1.5 miles. And like I said already, push-ups and moderate on the pull-ups, right? Like, am I going to be able to bang out 20 untrained? Well, it's not something I do a lot, but I know that I'd be able to get at least 15, probably 20. Like, I don't know, but like, would I be able to do that from a full hang rather than just kind of like being able to bang them out? 20 for sure if I didn't have to go full hang. But, so like, that's what I look at. And these are things that I want to challenge myself on and say, like, what would it take for me to get to a 10 on all of those levels? And for you, if you're just starting out, like, what would it take to get that 12 points? That's what I would love for you to start to get into. And again, these are all fun things. A lot of times people don't have goals to shoot for. And once you're in shape, or maybe you've kind of gotten to the body that you want, or maybe you're close enough, or maybe your workouts have been getting stale, one of the reasons I'm bringing this to you, and one of the reasons I'm refining it in my own program, is that once a month, I'm going to be giving myself this test. And I've even been thinking about doing it once a week as part of my workouts leading up to it, is that once a month, I need to make sure that I never fall below, let's say, a 20 on this test, okay? And you might say, I'm never going to fall below X, whatever it might be in each of the categories. And when you start to look at it that way, it's an amazing challenge because you can't start missing workouts. You can't miss your run workout. You can't miss your sprint workout. You can't miss your bodyweight push-ups and pull-up workout. I love that because what it's saying is I need to test myself at the end of the month. So I'm into this. I don't know if you're into it. It's really fun for me. It's more challenges because when you've been lifting for a certain period of time, you need to give yourself new goals and you want to keep yourself in shape as you're aging and you're getting older and all of these specific things. So let me know what you thought today. Really appreciate you tuning in as always. Of course, I do appreciate it. I appreciate all of your reviews on iTunes, all of your comments over social media. And as always, if this show was helpful, please do feel free to pass it along to anyone it could serve. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.